The distress beacon had died out 3 days ago, leaving only static in its wake. Dr. Lyon Marek stood in the sterile stillness of the medical deck aboard Outpost Hellion, palms pressed against the observation glass as if trying to warm it. In the quarantine chamber below, Arian lay curled beneath a mesh of improvised machinery. The creature's bioluminescent scales, once rumored to glow like drifting stardust, had dulled to a lifeless gray. Each shallow breath seemed like it might be the last. "Dr. Marek." Lieutenant Rowe's voice crackled through the intercom. "The Dominion dreadnought is on final approach. They're demanding immediate reclamation of the remains." Lyon didn't answer. He barely blinked. The equipment surrounding Aryan human monitors patched into alien nerves, stabilizers that were never meant to interface with triple-chambered cardiovascular systems, beeped arrhythmically, confused. No medical database, no xenobiological archive, had ever documented Arca physiology. Humanity had barely even heard of the Arca Dominion before the Talos 9 assault. 14 conquered star systems, entire ecologies reshaped to their will. They saw other species as functions, not equals. And yet, in the wreckage of a broken Dominion courier craft, beneath twisted support beams and leaking corrosive coolant, they had abandoned something. Someone. Aryan. Lyon still remembered the sound the cub made when he pulled it free, a weak, instinctive trill, more reflex than plea. Most soldiers would have stepped back and let the toxic plume do the rest. But Lyon Marek wasn't most soldiers. He wasn't even a soldier at all, just a medic with more stubbornness than sense. Now that stubbornness might start a war. Rowe spoke again, quieter this time. "Sir, the Dominion said any delay is an act of aggression." Lyon finally broke his silence. "Tell the captain," he said, "that Aryan is not a corpse." There was a long pause on the line. "Sir, the scans show." "The scans have shown the same flatline patterns for 72 hours, yet Aryan keeps breathing." His voice sharpened. "And while it breathes, it is under my care." He'd pushed every regulation beyond the breaking point to keep the cub alive. Synthesized plasma analogs that barely held together. Nanobots coded from scratch to replicate biorepair functions no human drug could mimic. A 3D printed heart assist lattice designed with nothing but shaky battlefield memories and one grainy image from captured Dominion archives. People whispered that he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had, it didn't matter. The Dominion boasted about their evolutionary perfection, about their ruthlessness, about their efficiency. If an Arca fell in battle, their remains were harvested, repurposed, and forgotten. Weakness was eliminated, not treated. Lyon placed a hand against the glass. Aryan didn't stir. "Medical bay," he said into his comm, "assemble immediately." Within minutes, his small team gathered, 3 overworked nurses, 2 engineers covered in grease, and Dr. Sorrell, their newly arrived xenobiologist whose eyes hadn't lost their academic brightness yet. Lyon faced them. "The Dominion wants Aryan back. They expect a body. They consider the cub already gone." He exhaled slowly. "But we are not done." Dr. Sorrell stepped closer, brow furrowed. "I've studied your notes. It's impressive work, but the neural collapse." "Not collapse," Lyon cut in. With a sweep of his hand, he pulled up a hologram. "Dormancy, defensive stasis. Arca biology isn't shutting down, it's waiting." He enlarged several glowing neural pathways. "These circuits aren't destroyed, just silent, if we trigger them in the correct sequence." He hesitated, then continued. "We might reactivate Aryan's regenerative systems." Sorrell stared. "Lyon, nothing like that has ever been attempted." Lyon allowed himself a tired smile. "Neither has anything we've done for the past 3 days." Before anyone could respond, Outpost Hellion shook. Not violently, just enough for everyone to feel the shadow of the Dominion dreadnought settling over them. Rowe's voice burst through. "They're hailing again. They want the juvenile's remains immediately." Lyon looked at his crew, I need 30 minutes. Sir Rowe said, they. Tell them Dr. Lion Marek requests the honor of personally returning their young as a gesture of interspecies respect. It was reckless, even theatrical, but the Dominion respected ritual, at least on paper. Their answer arrived moments later. 15 minutes. Lion's team moved like a single organism. Engineers calibrated the energy matrix. Sorrel adjusted the microstim patches. Nurses stabilized the cub's vitals as best they could. Every action carried the weight of finality. At 10 minutes, someone warned, we lose the window. Lion hovered his hand over the activation plate. Arian lay motionless in the chamber below, suspended in that thin membrane between existence and oblivion. He pressed the switch. Light surged across the cub's body. Every monitor shrieked. Error codes cascaded like rain. Lion's pulse hammered in his ears. 5 seconds. 6. Then, a flicker, a glimmer of deep blue coursed along Arian's scales like the first spark inside cooling embers. The cub's multifaceted eyes snapped open. They locked onto Lion with startling clarity, no confusion, no fear, just recognition. And something else, something ancient. Vital signs spiked. Bioluminescence flowed back through Arian's body like returning tides. Sorrel whispered, stunned, it's alive. There was no time to celebrate. When the Arca emissary materialized in the docking bay, draped in ceremonial armor and flanked by towering warriors, they expected to receive a reclaimed asset. Instead, Dr. Lion Marek walked forward cradling a living Arian wrapped in human blankets. The emissary's translator sputtered, caught between pre-programmed phrases and the reality before it. We were informed. You were informed incorrectly, Lion said. Arian's small claws tightened around his sleeve. This is Arian, Lion continued, voice steady. Not salvage, not resources, a life that endured, a life we fought to protect. Weapons lifted, but the emissary halted them with a single gesture. It stepped closer, studying the cub, studying the human who dared to intervene. Explain, it demanded. Why preserve what is not yours? Why risk conflict for an enemy's young? Lion glanced at Arian, then at the warriors, finally at the emissary. Because life isn't measured by allegiance or utility, because compassion isn't a weakness, and because survival is a fight worth sharing, even with those who would never return the favor. The emissary's posture shifted subtly but unmistakably. Confusion, awe, reflection. Slowly it extended its arms. Lion passed Arian over. The cub chirped weakly, pressing a glowing cheek to the emissary's armor. Light rippled across its scales, a soft, trembling pattern. Dr. Sorrel murmured from behind Lion, an Arca resonance sign, gratitude. The emissary regarded him for a long, unreadable moment. The Arca Dominion, it said finally, will remember this act. It is contrary to reason, contrary to protocol, contrary to survival itself. Lion nodded. Most human decisions are. A sound escaped the emissary, not quite speech, not quite breath. Perhaps this, it said, is what makes your species unpredictable, dangerous, and formidable. As the Dominion delegation departed, Arian looked back one last time, scales shimmering like a soft farewell. Lion stood in the docking bay long after the shadows of the dreadnought faded from the viewport, exhausted, uncertain, but steady. War might still come, diplomacy might still fail. But the Dominion would remember the day a human doctor defied logic, rejected surrender, and proved that strength sometimes lies not in conquest, but in refusing to let another life slip away.